People are craving human connection more than ever. And when you're engaging with content as a potential customer, you're not sure if you're actually engaging with a human anymore, right? Like, we've pivoted to being entirely dependent on content and inbound based marketing, gone back to some more traditional sort of like sales and marketing tactics.
Welcome to Avidly Talks, a mostly marketing, sales, HubSpot focused podcast. We're looking at all things to do with inbound in the age of Industry 4.0, and I'm joined by a special guest this week, my colleague from nearby, technically, geographically originally, but now well over the other side of the world. Good morning, Alex from Hype and Dexter, CMO, leader of our APAC marketing arm. How's it going?
Yeah, really good. Thank you, Paul. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
You've just driven through a cyclone, you were saying, before we hit record. That's dedication.
Yeah. A bit of wind. Tail end of it. The worst has passed overnight.
I did feel like you two are making light of this. It sounds pretty serious. But I guess not.
We get them every few months, and a few branches will blow off trees. The odd tree might come down, but as long as no one gets hurt, it's all good.
We've got no weather to report, apart from... it's not rained for weeks. Cricket is back this week. And guess what's happened? Now the cricket's back. Literally like 4 weeks of bone dry. Cricket's back. It's rained. Couldn't script it. But we're not talking cricket and weather, obviously. We're here to get your thoughts on marketing in 2025, age of AI, Industry 4.0, and you've got some success stories, put my teeth in, and some learnings you're finding from working with our clients, and as well as doing our own marketing that you do.
Yep.
So one of the big things that you've been doing successfully and you've sort of pivoted to in the past 12, 18 months or so is these sort of small exclusive events. You've done like the Learn and Booze Cruise thing and captain's dinners and all this kind of stuff. So tell us about what they are and why you think they work.
Yeah. Not to go too deep too quickly, but I think in an age, you hinted at it there, in an age of AI and automation and things, like people are craving human connection more than ever. And when you're engaging with content, and let's take content marketing and inbound marketing as being synonymous, as a potential customer, you're not sure if you're actually engaging with a human anymore, right? Like, you can be fairly confident but a human is vetted or reviewed this content at some point in time, but who you actually hearing from? So we've pivoted. Sorry, I'll finish the thought and then
go
hand over. We've pivoted to being entirely dependent on content and inbound based marketing, gone back to some more traditional sort of like sales and marketing tactics of getting people to lunch and in a room and to events. And when we do a case study, we don't just publish it and hope people find it via search or paid ads. We actually do an event and invite select handpicked prospects to whom this case study would be relevant and get them in the room and get them talking.
Are your customers taking this on board as well? Not as in to work with Avidly, but I mean your marketing customers that you do marketing for. Are you seeing this as a wider trend?
Yes, I mean we do a lot of B2B. We do a lot of B2B, and it's definitely a trend on the B2B side. And we're advocating for some version of it for our own clients as well.
I bet there's some industries as well thinking like construction or manufacturing, where these things probably never went away as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, as I say, they're sort of more traditional, old school, if you like, sales and marketing tactics. And 5 years ago, we might have been turning our nose up at those who are still doing it. But all these things are cyclical, right? And it feels like it's coming back. As I say, we do lots on the B2B side, and lots on the sort of big ticket items, long sales process, those kinds of industries where that's a factor. And we still do the inbound thing. We still support our clients through creating content and thought leadership. I think thought leadership has always been important, but even more so. and like I say, in an age of AI, being somewhat confident as a reader or a consumer that you're actually engaging with an individual and their thoughts and their IP is even more critical. So we made that change ourselves, and it immediately shifted the dial. We saw the enter your email to download an ebook and stuff becoming less effective, more expensive to promote as well, more competition on the organic side as well. So just diminishing returns in that respect, and then those who do engage with it aren't necessarily qualified or ready to move ahead with a meaningful conversation. So we decided, we've built this company on our IP and our reputation, based on where me and the other founders came from, and we should probably continue to do that. Like at the time, we were 6 years into Hype and Dexter, top APAC partner 5 years in a row, now 6. Really good reputation within HubSpot. So within the CRM industry as well. So and we weren't really, going out and talking about that enough. So we said, let's just dial back the blogging and the ebooks and things like that, and actually just start to really post as ourselves rather than as Hype and Dexter, and get the word out, and hope that people want to work with us because of the content and the IP that we're providing as individuals.
That individual is, you mentioned it a couple of times, of people knowing that they're actually dealing with a person who knows what they're doing, but dealing with the person first of all. You can't get away from that when it's an in-person event. So are people getting value from actually just getting out of the office and meeting people, or is that just part of the puzzle? Is that a big part of it? Obviously the content's got to be good, but I imagine the whole experience has as well.
It really is. I think it was maybe 2 years ago at Inbound where Yarmany was talking about people craving connection. Like the penny didn't really drop for me until a bit later, but I'm seeing it now. We're doing things like sponsoring a hole at a golf tournament and things like that, and we're going to be there at the clubhouse with flags and branding and stuff, and it's
old school stuff, like you say.
It's old school stuff. I mean, like a lot of the people there won't be our target audience, but a lot will. Or those who aren't will know the CEO of a big company or whatever it might be. So we're going back to doing a lot of that, as I say, because we could see physically getting in front of people just having a bigger impact. As I say, not to say we've stopped doing the content production and things like that, but where we are doing it, it's a bit more considered. It's really built on the IP, and going back to Ivana, our executive, interviewing the expert within the business to get their IP on the page, and it's not just generic AI generated SEO focused content. It's genuine genuine experience that's going into that content.
And then it's blended, I presume, with sort of modern ways of doing that as well. So it's calls, like for example, this is why we do this podcast every week. This is easy enough to do now, where it is like blogging every week was. It's easy enough to get the transcript, get the social snippets, and the tools are all there to make it easy as well to repurpose it, to remix it, or
don't get me wrong, you're a fool in this day and age if you're not leveraging AI, but don't become completely dependent on it. So I mentioned we might do an in-person interview where it's practical, but Ivana will take the transcript of that interview, which will be recorded by an AI. She'll put it into an AI and say, can you format this into a 1,000 word blog? Make sure you include an emphasis on these points, give it the direction, and it's just a time saver, because if she was transcripting, we're having to slow down as we're doing the interview so she can keep up with the typing. Things might get missed, and then she's got to turn 17 pages of notes into an 800 word blog that could take hours upon hours, right? So we can fast track that workflow now and get much the same, if not a better result. So you've got got to just use it in smart ways. And even when it's not practical to do a person-to-person interview, you can use ChatGPT or whatever your preferred platform is to perform an interview as well. I've done it in the car on the way to work. When the traffic's looking a bit hairy, it's going to take me a while. Launch ChatGPT and tell it I'm thinking about, database marketing or something like that, and I want it to ask me questions in these areas, and then it'll interview me, and then I can ask it to turn that into a blog post and a bunch of social posts, and we're away.
And that's come out of your head whilst driving.
Exactly, it's putting my input onto the page. I'm not asking it to produce the content; it's asking me to produce the content. So what comes out is completely unique and my intellectual property.
It's these little flips like that take it from going so wrong to so well. And I heard a great podcast this week. Let me get the link for you and send it, It is called Don't Be Evil. And it was an episode of Brand New World interviewing Google's CMO about their Gemini campaign. Or campaigns, and they got a lot of backlash from a campaign where it was a sort of, I can't remember what the exact scenario was, but it was a dad who needed to help the child do a commendation letter or reference letter or something. Anyway, something that the dad should have put his heart into, but they played Gemini as write this letter for me, and they were saying it's such a fine margin of, if they'd have just said help me write this letter, they wouldn't have got the backlash that they did, but it got slammed for sort of that's if that's the future, we don't want it, you should be able to write your own letters for heartfelt things like that. And it was a good, you just reminded me there of it's actually asking you, and it's actually transcribing your thoughts, isn't it? So love that. I'm going to use that technique. I've not actually done that myself. I've done.
Yeah, give it a try. You really get a different result from flipping it.
I can imagine. The thing I was going to say a minute ago was when you talked about if you don't know you're speaking to a human. We've gone full circle. I get lots of cold calls. Every day I get about 3 or 4 cold calls, and I've been monitoring, just as a bit of fun really, but how good the AI recordings are now. Yep. Obviously they used to just be a generic hit play and it'll just talk at you. Yeah. But they've quickly gone into listening to you, interpreting, coming up with a different answer off the script. But I had somebody today where I thought it was a robot, and it turned out to be a real person, and it was really embarrassing because I was giving these really rude.
Like they were just going through the motions, following the script.
And then once I knocked them off script, I was like, "Oh shit, it's a real person." I felt really bad. But yeah, in person, you don't have to worry about that. Cool. So whilst we do, you've mentioned still doing sort of digital marketing, obviously. Not all just in-person events and booze cruises and golf days.
It can't be right, and you have to find the people who you want to engage with an event, and sometimes there's opportunity to a lot of events and conferences are pay to play, and they're sometimes worth looking at if you can get paid to do a keynote or a round table or something like that. Be present at a conference where it's really aligned with your target audience. That's really good. But at some point, you're going to have to find these people, right? So you've still got to create content. You've still got to go to market. You've still got to build your brand equity and reputation. As I say, we build the reputation off the expertise that's in the business, and put a face and a name to it, and make sure that's genuine. Because particularly on social channels, people don't tend to want to engage with faceless entities, right? They want to engage with people. So we're going to market with our IP, our intellectual property, and our reputation and our expertise, but we're always aiming to create that human connection as soon as possible. So in practice, we're not focusing too much on the email nurture series. We're following up. If someone's engaged with a piece of high value content that's maybe sort of middle of the funnel, the next to hear from us might be an invitation to a case study or to play golf at the golf day or something like that. Like if we can get them in person and meet them, that's the most valuable next step, and it's a non-committal one as well. He doesn't want to go to dinner at a nice restaurant, all expenses paid, or come along to a golf day and enjoy that, whatever it might be. Make it somewhat hard to say no to,
And even if you don't, even if you can't make it, there's a little sort of positive tick in the back of the mind, isn't there? Of I wish I could have made that.
Yeah. We did a free workshop in Sydney with HubSpot execs, Hypendexter people. Very much, no obligation. Just come along, find out. We'll show you how we're solving common business challenges. There was an organisation due to come. They had to pull out with a couple of days' notice, which is unfortunate. But the week after, they closed anyway. They had that trust in us to deliver value and to be good partners to their business, just based on having had those engagements, even though they couldn't come to the event, which was meant to be the closer. It did the job.
What kind of other things are you seeing amongst the customers you work with that's working now in this day and age?
I'm still seeing. I've always seen it in the time I've been, with Hypendexter and in inbound. Just the obsession with finding net new leads and net new customers prevails. There's all kinds of stats out there, right? Like, it costs so much more to find and convert a brand new customer than to reconvert an existing one, or to convert dormant databases. So I'm always asking clients to engage with us who are looking for a lead gen or inbound kind of strategy. Like what have you got already? Because the real immediate wins will probably be in that existing database of 10,000 customers who have never bought from you again. Well, why? And let's look at the 2,000 that did buy from you again. What did they buy and when did they buy it? What does that life cycle actually look like? And let's build something around that, because they're sitting there. We're guilty of it too. Customers who were like, "Oh, we worked with you a year ago, and then we didn't really hear from you, so we're reaching out to see if there's anything else we can do." You've got to remember that they're there, they've engaged with you, they might have had a good experience, but then life goes on. There's lots of distractions or reasons why they didn't come back. Doesn't mean they'll never buy from you again. And similarly, like I say, existing databases that have never really been fully realised in terms of their potential to convert. Lots of you maybe did lead gen activity 3 years ago, and they weren't ready to buy then as leads, but they could be ready to buy now. You don't know unless you send them some communications and ask, right? Especially in B2B, there's lots of long sales cycles, long-term contracts with, vendors and things like that. At some point, they'll come to an end, and you might just time it right and get in front of them when they're looking for another option.
What sort of feedback are you seeing from people around these wider issues that we've talked about at first? Where's the market at in your experience with sort of in-house marketers or in-house business owners, and not just out-and-out marketing people like us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's not unique to this part of the world, but people wondering how they can leverage AI, worried about how their competitors might be leveraging it. It's a bit of a space race, isn't it? When some powerful new tech becomes available, everyone's scrambling to get there first. But also, as we mentioned just a minute ago, you've got to approach it in the right way. Lots of questions about AI and how they can leverage that. Everyone's trying to do more with less, right? Lots of marketers concerned about being replaced by AI. So we're having lots of conversations around that. And as I mentioned, that there's still lots to be done before.
Do you get many? Do you notice any of the stereotypical trends, sort of like, I don't know, the stereotypical CEO being like, well, we don't need more marketing people or your retainer anymore, we just do more with less. And then you've got skeptics going, no, it won't be any good. Do you see any of that playing out?
Yeah, you do absolutely. As I say, everyone's wondering, can we do more with less? What can this replace, or what can we do with this that we couldn't do before? That's the way I like to think of it. We don't like to see people replaced, and for the reasons I mentioned, there's still a lot for people to do. Even leveraging AI is just a tool at the end of the day.
What else do you think? Sorry, go on.
Sorry,
No, go on.
So I'm trying to stop all these notifications popping off. I'm not even sure what's doing.
It's the 10-minute warning notifications kicking in, isn't it? 10 to the hour.
Is. Lots of little reminders out of the way.
Well, you led us on to sort of one of the final topics, and that's kind of the ethical considerations in marketing. We touched on it a bit earlier with help me write this letter rather than write me this heartfelt letter. How are you, as like a marketing leader, tackling that within your team and with your customers? How are you coaching people to not just go guns blazing, AI slop everywhere?
Yeah, much in the way I've described. So I'll touch on B2C briefly in a minute because we recognise we haven't touched on that. But on the B2B side, like, make sure it's your genuine thoughts, your wisdom, your experience on the page or whatever format. And we talked about a couple of ways of approaching that to make sure that's the case. Like, don't forget that, and that in a space race situation, like I said, we're in, there's going to be lots of people who are dubious or disbelieving, like your experience with the telemarketer. Am I actually hearing from a genuine person? So you've got to bring that genuine thread through. And like I said, the offshoot of marketing on your own reputation is that you're going to be more invested in what goes out, right, in your name. I could give our marketing exec a big list of content that we want to create, and it's going out in my name or Romy Dexter's name or whoever, and it just goes out without visibility, and we don't know what it's saying. Like, we can't have that, right? Like, and I'm sure it's true of almost any market. We're in a market where our reputation is everything, and our expertise is how we've gotten to where we've gotten to in our own careers and as a business. So we have to protect that fiercely. We can use AI as a tool to fast track, transcribing or formatting and things like that, but we're not falling back on it to speak for us.
Do you see something different in B2C?
Yeah, I mean, B2C,
sort of like the what's the word? Sort of the threshold of how AI marketing can be.
Yeah. Well, I think there's some good practices coming through on the B2B side when it comes to AI, in terms of like doing a single product shoot and then being able to render it in 100 different ways and 100 different environments and things like that. So that's become easier. But I think on the B2C side, it's probably just as important, if not more, to be genuine and to create a brand that people believe in and trust in, that it's genuine and authentic, and something that they want to be associated with. Right? Like, it's not rewriting any rules of marketing or anything. Like, if you do the long-term brand building, you create a brand that aligns with a lifestyle or an attitude or a way of being that is in harmony with your target audience, then you should hopefully do okay. Obviously, you have to back that up with the right product and the right customer experience, right? Got to align back to the brand promise. There's a big focus on loyalty in the B2C space. Big focus on loyalty, retention, referral, gifting, growing organically through the loyalty of your own customers. And in order to do that, you've got to make every touch point exceptional. Whether it's the content you create and how that makes them feel. Like I say, there's got to be an affinity with the lifestyle or their attitude. Again, this is 101 stuff. But then continuing that thread, you've got to have a brilliant purchasing experience, a brilliant first experience with the product, whether that's an unboxing in your own home or within a store. And then through to customer service as well. You've got to be really consistent in every touch point.
because it's all marketing along the way. Because if your competitor does have that all in place, oh yeah, they're both all right, but it was really cool when I got this product through compared to
Absolutely.
that product.
The marketing doesn't stop once you've served someone an Instagram ad. It's the experience of purchasing, the communications you get when you're waiting for the product. Let's take an e-commerce example. The experience of the product arriving, like how is it packaged, how is it boxed, does it feel premium, and what's that experience like? And the organisations like Apple who sussed this out 10, 20 years ago, obviously just went gangbusters in terms of growth, and the loyalty to brands like that is what everyone should be striving for, right?
Yeah, whatever your scale or version of it is, it can all be done, can't it? So
every touch point with a customer is a form of marketing, right? And you're only as strong as your weakest link in that respect.
It's super key as well, just to say it out loud, with the amount of sort of low trust in brands that people are going to listen to other people and what they tell them, and whether that's their friends via WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or people on LinkedIn or G2 reviews of software or whatever it is. Those reviews are going to be key to keeping those customers happy with your service, and then also getting from a marketing point of view for us, getting those happy customers saying those things publicly.
Absolutely critical. And it harks back to what I was saying, you're only as strong as your weakest link. Any one of those links falls down, then that's where the bad review comes from, right? And you see it all the time when you're scanning reviews yourself. This was brilliant, this was brilliant, this was brilliant, but this bit wasn't. 1 star. It can all fall down, right? Just because of that one touch point which didn't deliver.
It's the consistent theme. Back to where you started, we've gone full circle, is sort of these classic themes. These are things that have made businesses successful for years, things that have made marketing before SEO attribution and inbound methodology, brand loyalty, sticking to your purpose, keeping up your promise to your customers. Yep. I normally ask what's something somebody can do to action this, but you've already said it. I'm gonna repeat one of your answers, which was getting your intellectual property out of your brain by ChatGPT to ask you questions. Walk us through that you did in the car again.
Yep. So you've got, I don't even think you need the paid version to do this. I happen to have the paid version. You've got the ChatGPT app on your phone. There it is in the bottom corner. Mm-hmm. You launch that. You launch into the, I don't know what you call it, but the little audio button there. So you're speaking, not typing, which obviously keeps your hands free. Very important if you're driving. And
in a cyclone.
Yep, in the middle of a cyclone, doesn't matter as long as you've got connection. And you tell it what's on your mind. I'm thinking about, let's take the topic of this, what we're just talking about, what works in marketing in the B2C environment in 2025. And it'll say, that's a great topic for discussion. Are there any particular things you want me to ask you about? And you give it half a dozen things and you're away. As long as you've got your brain switched on, you can answer its questions. It's actually not a bad interviewer.
I'll bet,
Just flipping it around, right? So I'm not asking it questions. I'm not asking it to produce the content. It's asking me to produce the content. So then at the end, you've got a transcript of an interview. It'll probably prompt you, what do you want to do with it? I want to turn it into a 1,000-word blog, 6 LinkedIn posts, and it's job done. And by the time I get to work, I can copy paste that into straight into a HubSpot blog and some social drafts if I want, or I can give it to someone to make sense of.
You've just added a whole new dimension to my workflow. I've never thought of flipping it that way to interview me. I've done the voice thing, but it's been a conversation to make the brief into a 5-minute conversation, and then me dumping out my thoughts. But just that little switch of, ask me some probing questions, ask me follow-up questions. It's going to just unlock that next layer. That's so good. Thanks, Alex. I'm going to let you get on with your day. Has anyone else arrived in the office? It wouldn't be Easter if the weather didn't spoil it where we're from. So Thank you very much. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a comment and a 5-star review, whichever format you're listening to us on. You'll be able to do one of those. And please hit the follow button to not miss future episodes. Thanks so much, Alex. Speak to you soon.
Hey, did you enjoy this episode? Then be sure to leave us a comment, a review, and hit that follow button. See you next episode.